It's the Harris Football Podcast with your host, Christopher Harris.
Welcome! Hey, everybody. Welcome in. My name is Chris, and I play the podcaster position. Hello there, possums. Thank you very much for being here today. I hope you're having a good day so far. Let's see if we can give you a few more smiles for the next hour or so. Appreciate you being here. We will start, of course, by talking about the Thursday night game, the all-red Texans with helmets like Christmas ornaments, hanging in there to beat the Bills, surely not because of their offense, which is pretty rancid, but rather because of their defense. I had several friends text me last night to say, oh, is that what the Texans defense has looked like all season? And I'm like, yeah, that's why I rave about them. You know, you can't watch any Texans game and not notice the pass rush and the secondary. I think the Bills' offensive line was a little complicit in the mess, but yes, this is why even against Josh Allen last night, I had Houston's D rated number 5 for the week. They are simply that good. I don't think there's any way to start reviewing this game than to talk about Josh Allen getting around 8 fantasy points, depending on your format. Whatever it was, it certainly wasn't a lot of points, especially when you compare it to last week. The Bills do 19 on the scoreboard with a missed extra point, but one of those touchdowns was a Ray Davis kickoff return. In the first half, you even had an Allen scramble where after the tackle, he flopped around like a fish you just dragged into the boat, and it seemed like for a moment he might be really hurt, but quickly it did become obvious that he'd gotten a stinger down his left arm, and he at least looked fine after that. Fine as in not injured, not necessarily fine as in playing awesome or having awesome results. That first Buffalo drive had a 4th and short in the Bills' own territory, and Allen leaped over the pile and got the first down easily. Remember that, because they did not do that later in the game. It would be pretty glaring. And then, same drive, on a 3rd and 1 from the Texans' 45, James Cook busted through the Houston defense that didn't control that particular gap, and there was nobody behind the play, and Cook rumbled for a touchdown, setting my under prediction for his rushing total on fire. I believe without that kind of random run, Cook would have been really close, maybe just under, but that run counted, so I lose. And Cook had made his night. You know, amid the fantasy disaster, Cook did not burn you. They missed the extra point, so it's 6-0, but still feels like, yeah, they'll probably win this easy. Houston's offense was awful for a quarter and a half. Local area shopping mall, Davis Mills, did not complete his second pass until the 9-minute mark of the second quarter. But the Bills' offensive line immediately started having problems, and their main problem was Will Anderson, absolutely one-man wrecking machine. Also, though, the right tackle was hurt most of the game and kept playing and kept getting just run over, and finally they sat him down by the end of the game, and the left tackle was getting dog walked too, and at one point he got evaluated for a concussion, and the interior of that line, which has been so good, just wasn't, and I'm not sure who was hurt or not, but they didn't play well. 1 week after having all the answers, running around to make miracle plays against Tampa, which is a very good defense themselves, Allen was running around all night, all right, but mostly running into sacks. 8 sacks, the most of Allen's career. Late third quarter, the sirens were blaring for an upset special. Khalil Shakir fumbles one away in his own territory, which led to Houston's only points of the second half, a field goal. Fourth quarter, a 4th and 1 in Houston territory, I believe at the 23-yard line. What a howler of a play call. People are going to be calling for Joe Brady's job. This is the play call that was really the problem. It's not a second guess. As a first guess in the moment, I was like, all right, the one thing you cannot do is a power play up the gut with the running back. The Texans are too aggressive and too good. And sure enough, on that play, the right guard gets worked. A tight end in motion tries to wham Will Anderson, while the left tackle is busy getting to the second level, blocking nobody. That's not a good play design. And then the corner who sprints up and actually makes the play is getting blocked by a different wham way too late. Is the fullback, Reggie Gilliam. He had to come a mile to get him. And all this when Allen had made it on 4th down easily earlier in the game. And yet, at 23-16 on a 3rd and 12, Allen pulls a rabbit out of his hat for a pop-up screen to Shakir for 44 yards. They stall, but they kick a field goal. And I was watching along with the Yacht Clubbers in the Discord, which was an absolute blast. Everyone in there was so fun. We had such a good time. I know we set a Yacht Club record for the most posts in a single watch-along so far this year by a lot. So, I mean, obnoxiously, I was saying, yeah, I think the Bills still win this, because how many times have we seen an Allen or a Mahomes pull out a game they have no right pulling out? And the Buffalo defense, which had been a little embarrassing in the first half, or at least in the second quarter, it stood up. The only 3 points it allowed in the second half were after that Shakir fumble. And time after time, they would easily get the ball back for Allen, and they did it again for one last drive. He takes another big sack. It's 4th and 27. I don't know. In a way, it's good the Bills lost this game, beyond the fact that I wear the Patriots footy pajamas, because if they had won, we'd be hearing about the 4th and 27 hook and lateral until the end of time. But it was pretty badass, something that had no right to work, but everyone in Houston secondary overreacted, and it did work, and suddenly the Bills were inside the Houston 30. And let's just say the live betting odds on DraftKings turned the Bills into a favorite at that moment. But in 4 plays from the Texans' 26, the Bills go first down, Gabe Davis. For a moment, looks like he scored the winning touchdown. He caught it, but couldn't get his feet in bounds, he's Gabe Davis, but despite kind of looking like he had room to do so. Second down, a shotgun screen to Ty Johnson. Looks like a run in the box score, because I guess it was like parallel to the line, but it was a throw. Johnson gets 9 yards. It's 3rd and 1 from the 16. Shakir is wide open in the flat on the right side, and it's going to at least be an easy first down and maybe a touchdown. And instead, Will Anderson leaps up and deflects the pass at the line. And then 4th and 1, the left tackle false starts, which is something bad teams do. And 4th and 6, Allen just makes an incredibly bad read. I've watched it over multiple times. There's a natural pick in the middle of the field, and 2 defenders crash into each other, and Dawson Knox is heartbreakingly wide open in the left flat, and it's directly in front of Allen. I don't understand how he doesn't see it, but he's getting pressured, and he flings it to Josh Palmer instead, and the ball's late and picked off, and it's over. That was a good ball game, and very frustrating if you've got Josh Allen to see the line be a sudden sieve, to have Allen score 0 touchdowns the week after he accounted for 6. Keon Coleman, a healthy scratch again. The little black backpack, obviously looking like a bust at this point. Shakir gets home. Cook gets home. And I guess for fantasy, we're probably not starting anybody else, although someone texted me in the middle of the game saying, "Where is Tyrell Shavers?" And I was just like, oh, buddy. On the Texans side, I mean, they won a game. The quarterback started 1 for 8. Davis Mills was dreadful, except for a little burst in the second half of the second quarter. He had countless tries to end this game in the second half and couldn't do a thing. 2 throws in that second quarter that should have been touchdowns had they not been underthrown, and a medicine ball to Nico Collins with a minute left in the first half, where Collins took a big hit and came off hurt. He would return. It looked like a chest injury. He would be in the game for the entire second half, but he would get 0 more receptions the rest of the game, which seems pretty suspicious to me. So if we wind up hearing that Collins is questionable next week, I will not be surprised. The broadcast team was clearly told to expect C.J. Stroud to return Week 13, big game against the Colts. And while Stroud himself has obviously not been all that usable for fantasy, it certainly would be a better thing to have him instead of Mills. I should also say, we've been making excuses for Stroud all season because his blocking has been so bad. So, Mills gets part of a pass as well. Though, as I mentioned, I can point to missed throws that you can't pin on the O-line. I really think the only other thing we need to cover is Woody Marks. Nick Chubb, he got the second series of the game, and then annoyingly, when they were down in close before they scored their first touchdown, Marks converted a 3rd and 1 in the red zone and then came off, and Chubb came on for a chance at a goal line adjacent touchdown, but he got stuffed, and then Christian Kirk scored instead. But I think we watch how this one turned out, and, okay, it's a good matchup. The Bills have definitely allowed big production from running backs, but I can point to 2 plays that Woody Marks made, a 4th and 1 deep in Buffalo territory, and then another one on a 3rd and 2 in the third quarter. Both times, the very bad Texans line did not block for him, and a defender was in the backfield waiting for him. The first time, fortunately, it was a safety and not somebody big, and Marks took a hit, withstood it, kept his feet, lunged, and got the first down. And the second time, it was a bigger dude, and Marks made a quick, evasive move in the backfield that made that guy miss and reached and got the first down again. Marks does 74 yards and no scores. And yeah, they were trying to give his touchdown away to Chubb, but these were a couple of good runs, and there were others, and a combination of quickness and strength and savvy that you like to see out of a rookie running back. You know, we were chatting those plays up on the Discord as they were happening, and I'd say the gang overall, and I was too, all like kind of pretty impressed. Like, if you told me that he's something like Jaylen Warren, now we all know that can set you up for years with an annoying platoon. Like Najee Harris just sits there and siphons away work and you get annoyed. Marks is on that borderline of being tiny-boned, but not quite. And honestly, not that much smaller than Warren, who's been a favorite of ours for years, and I certainly am interested in Woody Marks going forward.
Today's kickoff.
Okay, on today's show, I will do our usual Friday rundown of the injury stuff that we'll be tracking this weekend. And then my guest will be cousin Josh. And Josh and I have each come up with a list of 5 names of players we think will be worth more in fantasy next year compared to what they're worth right now. With, of course, the main caveat being, no, we're not allowed to say players who are currently injured. Malik Neighbors. I'm going to make the bold call to say I think he'll be worth more next year than he is right now. You don't need a podcast to tell you that. So we will count down our lists to one another and give reactions. I think it'll be fun. Once again, I thank you so much for listening today. We are brought to you by Aura Frames. What an amazing idea and absolutely perfect for a holiday gift idea. We're always sharing photos with family, posting them online, texting them. That's all great. But Aura Frames take it another level. That's incredible. Photo frames with digital photos where the photos are populated by you and you updated whenever you want. Photos of the kids or the pets or you. Something your family will absolutely love. And you preload whatever photos you want to start on there before the picture frame ships. And you can continually update the frame with new photos super easily. Unlimited photos and videos anytime all year. I've given my folks the Carver matte frame from Aura. Periodically, I update photos of yacht life. I'm telling you, they love it. For a limited time, visit auraframes.com to get $45 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frame, named #1 by Wirecutter, when you use the code Harris at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code Harris. $45 off. That's their Black Friday, Cyber Monday best deal of the year. Terms and conditions apply. auraframes.com, code Harris.
Injury news.
Well, here, I think, are the major names we'll be tracking heading into the weekend. It's going to be an eventful weekend for ranks changes because we still have a bunch of unknown situations with some pretty big names. I will do my best to get the ranks at harrisfootball.com in as shipshape as I can as soon as the news does start leaking out. I think the biggest and craziest story is actually whether Joe Burrow might return a week or two early for the Bengals this week against the Patriots. No Jamar Chase, of course, but if Burrow comes back, it'd be a heck of a story. And if you haven't found a good replacement that you've been satisfied with all season, or if the answer has been Joe Flacco, that is a swap that I would take a chance on. I don't know anything about how healthy he is, but if Joe Burrow's in there, I'm usually just going to use him. Presumably, by the end of the day, the Bengals will make some sort of announcement. Jackson Dart, as of my recording this, has not cleared the concussion protocol, but the Giants beat reporters say he's been doing enough at practice that they expect it to happen momentarily, and I do have Dart back in the quarterback ranks, meaning the wacky waving, inflatable, arm-flailing tube man, Jameis Winston, would regrettably head back to the bench. Aaron Rodgers has been practicing with his injured left wrist and is a diva of the absolute highest degree. I would be pretty surprised if he doesn't play against the Bears on Sunday. Michael Penix obviously done for the year. Kirk Cousins will start for the Falcons, and Dylan Gabriel still in the protocol. Shedeur Sanders starts for the Browns. Josh Jacobs has been limited in practice all week, and he told reporters that his knee problem is not structural, but rather a matter of swelling and range of motion, which it's bad in that we wanted Josh Jacobs to play in most of the Giant game last week, and we want him to play in this Viking game this week, but it is good in that it is not likely to be a huge multi-week thing either way. The Packers famously, in addition to playing on Sunday, will be playing the Lions on Thanksgiving, so I still think there's a pretty decent chance we get the Emmanuel Wilson game this weekend, but we'll find out. Jaylen Warren was back at practice on a limited basis on Thursday after missing Wednesday, certainly opening up the possibility that he gets back into the ranks after a bad-looking sprained ankle against the Bengals in Week 11. If we get another practice, even to the limited degree, on Friday, Kenneth Gainwell no longer looks like anything other than a Hail Mary, and Warren, even with a sore ankle, probably back in your lineup. Bucky Irving, for the second straight week, is submitting limited practices, but Rondé Barber, who does radio announcing for Tampa games, said on his radio show that Irving will not play against the Rams Sunday night. Doesn't mean it's 100% true, but if you would tend to believe that, and I kind of would tend to believe that, it would put the ball back in the court of Rachaad White and super deep sleeper Sean Tucker. I gave Tucker the nod in the ranks coming off his huge game against the Bills, but it was still a pretty even split, so there's obviously potential for frustration. Isaiah Pacheco has been listed as limited Wednesday and Thursday, wearing a chunky brace on his injured knee. Probably still questionable, but apparently has a chance to play against the Colts. I wouldn't feel any need at all to rush out and use him. The main impact would probably be on making Kareem Hunt less usable on a fantasy emergency basis. Trey Benson had his practice window opened, has been deemed limited so far in practice this week with his sprained knee. I tend to think usually the first week they have their practice window open, they don't play that weekend, but that's not a hard and fast rule. He certainly could. Might not be a full workload guy, even if he can be back against the Jaguars. But if he winds up being active, it feels like at least it puts the kibosh on being at all enthused about using Bam Knight. Ramondre Stevenson has been limited so far in practice this week in his attempted return from the toe injury that's kept him out for a month. And of course, his return would inject uncertainty into the workload of rookie Travion Henderson, which we have discussed a lot this week on the show. Bhayshul Tuten has been limited in practice with his ankle injury, which is good because it looked really bad when he hurt it. He looked like he was in agony. Fortunately, he's already on his feet and doing something in practice. He might be heading back into the ranks pretty quickly here. And just as a side note, Travis Etienne has been wearing a non-contact jersey in practice because of his shoulder. Not that there's very much contact in NFL practices anymore, but if you wanted to chase Tuten coming off a pretty good game, that might be slightly more motivation. Chris Godwin is back in the ranks. He's been listed as practicing in full. Todd Bowles said some stuff about how his returning injured guys probably won't be used to their fullest. So for week 12, I tried to be calm with the Godwin rank. I did pull Tez Johnson out of my top 50 receivers. Not necessarily correct, but I just don't feel like with Godwin back, I would take the chance. And I put Godwin around number 35 among receivers, while I did not lower Emeka Egbuka, of course. This could all just be coach speak, and it's possible by as soon as next week, we could be wondering, should Godwin or Egbuka be ranked higher? For this week, personally, I think I would be okay taking the chance with Egbuka, understanding that it is a chance. Marvin Harrison will miss his second straight game because of an appendectomy, giving Michael Wilson another chance to shine, and having seen him do it once now, feels like better strategy to give him a start on Sunday. I mean, he's not in the top 7 wide receivers, so nothing's guaranteed, but I would probably give him a start. Brian Thomas has thus far once again been listed as limited in Jags practice. I remain unconvinced that he's definitely playing on Sunday. The practice that Jacksonville has on Friday might tell the tale. As I said on yesterday's show, I think it was underreported that this must have been a high ankle sprain. I'm not a Twitter doctor, but it sure looked like that prototypical high ankle sprain when it happened. Obviously, Thomas's potential return affects the usability of Parker Washington and Jacoby Myers. All the Packers receivers so far has been listed as limited: Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Matthew Golden. Not Jaden Reed. I don't believe he's had his practice window opened. To this point, we don't have any reason to suspect that any of those Packer receivers will miss this Vikings game this weekend, but that certainly could change. Kayshon Boutte is, in fact, practicing in full for the Patriots and should be back in the lineup for this Bengals game, which does not automatically mean that Mac Hollins becomes unusable, because Hollins has had a role for much of this year. For whatever it's worth, I did rank Boutte in my top 50 and I didn't rank Hollins. That could absolutely be wrong. Xavier Worthy did not practice Wednesday and then was limited on Thursday, which is the right direction if you're excited about using Xavier Worthy, famously a top 50 overall pick in most fantasy drafts this summer, which we now, it seems correctly, pointed out as a bad idea. Worthy is battling an ankle injury. We'll have to see what Friday looks like for him. Elik Iomanner has a hamstring problem and didn't practice Thursday. Calvin Ridley is out for the year with a broken leg. Chimere Dike is back at practice. I think we would strongly prefer not to use any Titans players, certainly not too many receivers. But if you have no choice this week, Dike feels like the correct option. And David Njoku has not practiced yet this week because of a knee injury. If he's going to be out, it could breathe the faintest of life into Harold Fannin for Week 12, but Fannin would still need to contend with the fact that, as I mentioned earlier, Shedeur Sanders is going to be his quarterback. We are sponsored by the very, very delicious Wild Grain, the first bake from frozen subscription box for artisanal breads, pastas, and pastries. If you haven't tried Wild Grain, it's a great time. The holidays are coming up. You can have the freshest tasting bread imaginable in just 25 minutes, and also cranberry pecan rolls, Parmesan herb biscuits, apple pie bites. The magic is the fact that everything bakes in 25 minutes or less from frozen. And seriously, I'm speaking from experience, tastes like it just came from the bakery. This time of year, I also like to mention Wild Grain. They're located in Boston. They've grown a lot, but they're still the same great company we knew from years ago. They volunteer and they donate at the Greater Boston Food Bank, where I used to volunteer. They're good folks, and you will love their bread and pasta and pastry. Give it a try. For a limited time, I can get you $30 off your first box, plus free croissants in every box when you go to wildgrain.com/Harris to start your subscription. Free croissants in every box and $30 off your first box. Wildgrain.com/Harris. Wildgrain.com/Harris, or you can check out using the code Harris.
Today's guest.
So things turned sour, they busted me and said no chance. So I threw my hands up, climbed up onto my soapbox, don't mess with narrow man. Now I'm tweeting like, girl, you know I want your suds. Your beer was handmade for somebody like me. Coming now, what if I leave? Disguise myself, I'm incognito. Josh, sorry, age too much. We met on Tinder, so please give us 4 each. Coming now, give us 4 each. I'm coming now, give us 4 each.
What a story. What a guest. This is Cousin Josh's segment. He is not in Vermont. He is not chasing the that delicious nectar of the gods and trying to buy more cans than you're allowed to. You can, of course, find him on Instagram. Look up Detective Fish, Fisch. That story must take you back.
Probably one of my favorite stories that I've told, and I tell a lot of them. Once I bring my tiny shirts and they charge me extra because they have to hand iron them. They can't put them on there. But that one to me it's probably my favorite song that was made from a story of mine. The Raccoon in the Trash Room is great too. Like, look, there's Tiny Tables is amazing, but the Ed
Cocktail
Sheeran.
Smoker.
Yeah, the Cocktail Smoker, the Ed Sheeran remake of that was it's really, really impressive. I listen to it once in a while. It's great.
It's very good. It's good stuff. So I just did a Wild Grain spot, and I I don't think you've gotten a wild grain delivery recently, but I have, and so like I just want you to co-sign that I'm not kidding about wild grain. You're not a paid endorser of wild grain.
Yeah, I'd say probably once a month or so if I'm using it or if I have some. And I'm like, Chris, I just did one of these pretzel bun egg sandwiches for Jord. It's like now this has to become an every week thing. But yeah, I'm a fan of when I am having bread. I think it's phenomenal. Yep.
Yeah, it's very, very good stuff. And we appreciate wild grain very much. All right, so a topic that we have done for a few years now, we're turning our heads every so often on the show to next year or think about Dynasty as well as redraft. And as people's teams drop out, like nobody's really like out, but some people could be like not in playoff consideration at this point. So hopefully we can keep the conversations fresh for everybody. And that is a topic that, as I described it earlier, players who we think their value would be higher in 2026 than they currently are in 2025, and we're making injury exceptions, so you're not allowed to pick somebody who's obviously Chris Godwin, probably worth more next year than this year. And so it's going to be a lot of, I don't even want to talk about it. We'll talk about why each guy, we each have 5 names. Did you have anything to add?
No, I don't know. I try not to just do rookies. I have a nice blend. I tried to not just do contracts. Like, Chris, I put some time into this that you're not going to believe. It's great. I have a nice mix of everything. A little bit of everything. You'll see. It's great.
You kid me? I totally believe it. It's an absolutely pointless countdown, but who's your number 5?
What order? Fine, I'll just do this. So I guess I'll go with the Diamond Dallas Page reference. You won't know that. It's WCW. This is me self-high-fiving myself. I acquired this player earlier in the year for Keenan Allen in La Liga. Do you remember who it was?
I don't think I do.
I know. I mean, you're in a lot of leagues and a lot of trades. So I got Luther Burden earlier on in the year. He's my number 5 on this. I think I hear you typing.
I am typing. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm literally typing them to put them in the show notes. I got to write them down. I won't remember.
It's fine. This is just my chance to give you crap because you usually have to me like talking to the mic. Are you typing? Please don't type, Chris.
Brian Thomas Jr. Are you sure?
No. Look, next year, sure, he's a rookie this year, but I think next year is going to be a second season in the Ben Johnson-led offense, which I think's already kind of taken a step forward from what I thought it would be this year. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. It's just when you were really silent. I guess you meant to mute when you were typing. But anyway, no, second year. I think this past week we saw a lot of those slot routes, like 54% or something around that time was in the slot, and it just reminds me a lot of what we kind of saw from ASB. A lot of draft capital, 39th pick this year, and I think next year, I know DJ Moore is technically under contract. I think he's already starting to phase out a little bit now. I'm curious what happens in the offseason. I don't know if it's a deal or what it is. Yeah.
I'll fill in that part and you can keep talking. I considered Burden, and then I was like, I'm not sure. Maybe it's one more year after this one. DJ Moore has $23 million guaranteed next year.
And
of course, that doesn't mean anything. If they want to eat that, they'll absolutely eat that. The money is fake. Yeah. They'll kick somebody else's contract down the road. But if they want an excuse that they can't get rid of him, that'll be the excuse that they use. Go on.
Yeah. And I'm not sure he's exactly like, to say, oh yeah, this is going to be the next ASB. Oh, it's like when people say the generational thing. It's like ASB is ASB. But I think Ben Johnson specifically has this player in that role, and if he's going to be something like 75 to 80% of ASB, and they envision him in kind of playing that slot role in that offense, in an ascending offense, I think, and I looked at Fantasy Pros from a Dynasty perspective, he's wide receiver 35. We'll see what happens with DJ Moore, but I just think that it's a little low of what he could be the following year. I mean, we saw how Rome Odunze took off in his second year. So I just think he's a good person to kick this list off. I'm happy to have him in a dynasty league, and I think he's a decent buy low now. And we'll also see how the end of this season goes.
Yeah, the word now is like, no, guys, you don't understand how raw he really was. This was like unworkable, and that's why Olamide Zaccheaus, who will be a free agent at the end of the year, and obviously is terrible hands, and now has been proven that he's not going to be. Andy Behrens couldn't have said more things about Olamide Zaccheaus this summer, and I was like, come on, man. It's not really a thing. My concern would be that he's still a year away to get completely going. But you've certainly seen flashes. There's a play this past week against the Vikings where he runs a slant, the ball is thrown hard and high, and he goes up and gets it. And it's like, oh, that's real talent. So you could be right. I would have said, I don't know, I can't imagine you wouldn't have him in the 30s among receivers in a dynasty format.
No.
You wouldn't have him in the 20s or the teens,
No,
would you?
no.
No.
But I think, come 2026, depending what happens in the offseason, like I wouldn't be shocked if he becomes a hot name or someone you want to get your hands on.
That's fair. I mean, it would only be better, this case was better when you made that trade because now he's shown out a little bit. At that point, he'd been a total bust. So my number 5, also a receiver, and it's not as good a situation, and maybe I'm making a bet that the situation can only get better, but I put Cedric Tillman on the list, a film room hero back in August. Not that we were drafting him, but that's not the film room hero list. That's just people who I really like watching on film. And I'm sorry, every single time Cedric Tillman is out there, he does a thing where you go, holy crap, that guy's really good. Whether it's the one-handed falling down catch that wasn't a catch, but it was so close that it would have been the catch of the year, and he got interfered on it till a couple of plays down the seam last week, catching, like, they were hard catches, both of them, and he caught them both. So, of course, I don't know who the quarterback is. I kind of feel like probably the quarterback isn't on the roster, and I think maybe there's Kevin Stefanski will probably be there, but there's a chance that he's not, and maybe there's a new play caller, whatever. But I'll just say... And like Tillman got his value destroyed this year. He never had a chance because he was on injured reserve. He was hurt. But this isn't an injury story anymore. He has the value that he has now. He just needs a slightly more neutral situation to be better. So I put Cedric Tillman at number 5. Who's your number 4?
I guess I'll stick with that team then. I had a similar thought, but I went with Harold Fannin Jr. only because I wanted to take a tight end, Chris. I know it's a loser move. I couldn't find a quarterback, so I'll just call myself a loser. And look, the Browns are obviously kind of a cesspool on offense, with this quarterback situation. We knew that going in this year anyway, but I think he's kind of become a little bit forgotten in terms of where he was to start the year. And not so much as a prospect, because what he did at Bowling Green was just like historical stats. But again, it was this guy's so raw. I think he really showed out that first week, and everyone's like, all right, great, he's an ad. They're using him even as a running back, and he's man amongst boys, and his size, he's amazing. They figured it out. And then we haven't really heard as much about him, and I think probably because he's in a tight end class with Ty Warren and Colston Loveland, and those guys were super high picks in much better offenses, and he's been forgotten about. But it's interesting. We know Njoku, I believe, is an unrestricted free agent, so he's going to be gone. He's not
a free agent, but he has no guaranteed money, though. So
okay, that's what it is. Yeah.
It is a cut.
Okay.
Actually, no, this is the year he had no guaranteed money. You're absolutely right. He is an unrestricted free agent. My mistake. You are.
But, like, he's quietly on pace still to catch over 70 balls on a brutal team. And I just think that because of what those tight ends are doing, and I'll even throw like Rondé Gatson in, who I know is not a rookie this year, but there's just been so much publicity about some of these young tight ends and Kraft early on in the year. And I think he's kind of been forgotten about because of the team he's on and what some of these other guys are doing. But I just think that he's someone whose value could go up a lot in the offseason, and especially depending Cleveland, who's 2-8. I mean, there's so many teams 2-8. Whether you get that 1 pick versus the 6-7 pick, I mean, you bring in a new QB in. Like, I don't know. I just think that value-wise, he could be a lot closer to those two guys. I'm not saying he's the same talent as Warren or Loveland, but I'm not sure the gap by next year could be that massive. So I think he's slightly undervalued.
Soft tight end. Soft. Picking a tight end for this list. Are you kidding me? It's fine. Nobody listening to this show, or at least nobody in the yacht club, has forgotten about Harold Fannin, because Barron's doesn't do. There's never a show that goes by without him endorsing Harold Fannin. But I know you're not listening to the yacht club. You're a busy man. My number 4, Bhayshul Tuten. We're gonna get. What was that? Was that a?
He's the other one I have on here but okay. I'll add my 2 cents. Yeah.
No, you go ahead.
I guess this would be my 3rd player.
Okay.
Yeah,
he's my 4. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So Look, I try not to put too many rookie running backs on here. Like I wasn't going to put him and Woody Marks, but I think what makes his situation a lot different is, first of all, he really popped last week, and I know you watch all the plays. I know Matt Waldman is a huge believer in him already, and every time I pops up on my Twitter, it's like, oh man, the way he runs with his pads and just explosive. He's already the best zone runner on that team, and he had a great play versus the Chargers too, where he just lowered his shoulders, and I don't know who it was. He broke that tackle, but I think he's explosive. Reminds me a lot of Jalen Warren, kind of before Jalen Warren was really on the map, and just explosive, can take some hits, can lay some punishing hits on the defenders. But I think what I really like about this, and you're probably going to think it as well, is Travis Etienne, free agent, right?
That's why.
Yep. Yeah. And again, even if he comes back, we'll see. Tuten, I think, is going to be on the 60 to 65% of the side. But if not, I mean, this offense isn't going to be changing that drastically. Liam Cohen isn't going anywhere. I mean, I think Trevor Lawrence is obviously there another year. But I think, I don't want to say BTJ, but BTJ Hunter, we'll see what's going on then. But I think it's a pretty stable offense and a guy who could be in that lead back role who's just really shown out over the last couple of weeks and is an interesting prospect who I think has kind of that 2 to 3 downs, well, 2 to 3 down set. But what were you going to say? Anything else to add?
They're not going to turn out over the entire backfield to Bhayshul Tuten. That's not what's going to happen. But I do think Travis Etienne will probably be somewhere else. And they'll add another back, and they'll probably draft another back. Or else it's LeQuint Allen. Yep. I think he might be a junior, so you get to call him junior too. I don't know if you caught yourself on the Harold Fannin. Did you get that? You hear yourself?
Harold Fannin Jr.?
You said it. You didn't even know you said it. I think we're obvious. I think it's fine to be a week late if you're in a Dynasty League wanting to trade for Bhayshul Tuten, because we needed a proof of concept. We really hadn't had it yet. And I thought Etienne had a really good game too, so this isn't some takeover. I don't think you're starting Tuten this week. Yeah, he's hurt anyway, but I think it's a moment that we needed to see that he could combine some very good speed. He's probably faster than Jalen Warren, to be honest, although I don't hate the comp at all. But what I wanted to see was physicality, and he's been pretty physical other games, but this was another level of being a contact-seeking missile and really running over some secondary guys, and even putting his shoulder in the chest of some linebacker guys. It was impressive. It was good. I'm not sure how much wiggle he has. I'm not sure he's going to be out there creating for himself, but we can have guys who are more kind of guided missile type dudes. We'd like them to be a little bigger when they're guided missile type dudes, but I mean, Travion Henderson kind of fits that mold. Very fast. Henderson might be a little, I think they're pretty, Henderson's taller, but that role works too when there's a lot of stuffage, but when you break through, you maybe, you could break one tackle of a guy your same size and then go a really long way, which is how Henderson's done it. So, the question of, in a keeper league, in a dynasty league, exactly how much we want to be giving up for a player like Tuten is, I don't want to be mortgaging the future. I don't think we're automatically at this point in the season going into next year with Tuten as I'm guaranteed to be getting a top 24 running back. I don't think you feel that. It's a possibility, but I don't think you feel it's guaranteed.
No. I guess I look at this, and you said it right before, which is they're not going to give him the entire backfield. He's probably, in a great scenario, going to get kind of that 65-35 situation, which you hope for.
Najee Harris gets healthy. He's a free agent, right? Najee Harris lands in Jack. Something stupid like that.
Yeah. When you squint, Chris, do you see Maurice Jones-Drew? Because I don't.
No.
I know. I just wanted to make that joke.
A quick break to thank Chubbies for sponsoring. Josh and I certainly know Chubbies for their bathing suits, and if you've got a vacation planned for this winter, get yourself a Chubbies suit. You will love it. Chubbies also has an NFL collection. First of all, swim trunks with your favorite team's logo. That's great. I got my dad a Patriots stretch polo. You can get an NFL team logo on mesh shorts from Chubbies, which are great. And I'll ask Josh here in a moment about it because Chubbies just decked him out with some other clothes. A quarter zip, a flannel, some shorts. I'll just say, if you have a football fan in your life, the Chubbies NFL collection makes an awesome gift. That's what my dad got for his birthday. He really loves it. And for a limited time, I can get you 20% off all of their clothes, and they have a bunch of clothes, when you go to chubbysshorts.com and check out using the code Harris. Now, if it's their Black Friday sale when you go to the site, feel free to take the even bigger discount. Maybe you can just let them know we sent you after you check out. But most importantly, just go have a look, because for yourself, for the NFL fan in your life, for really anybody, great gift ideas. chubbysshorts.com. Okay, we're back with Josh. And Josh, I just did the Chubbies read, and I believe you may have gotten a care package from Chubbies, and so I wanted to give you a chance to say, hey, we love the Chubbies bathing suits, but they have other stuff too.
Yeah. So I've already said this before. I mean, anyone who, of course, follows me on Instagram has seen my body in those trunks, whether it's Chubbies or anything else. But yeah, I like my shorts too. Thighs out, skies out, I believe is what they're saying, Chris. Nice 5.5 inseam. I got a pair of their shorts, the khaki colored ones. They're phenomenal. And I will also just say there's this cloud fleece, I believe it's called, that is so super soft, amazing. Jord will probably go to sleep in it this week. So highly recommend. But yeah.
Cool. Say thanks to Chubbies, because they did send you some stuff.
Yeah, I mean, look, thank you very much, Chubbies. It was phenomenal. I can't wait till we get some warm weather to pop up these shorts. A little bit colder right now in New York, but first vacation I go on. First 35 degrees.
It's warm.
First vacation I go on, I'll be popping those shorts at. Can't wait.
It did rain in Los Angeles, a little more than I'm comfortable with, but it wasn't also 30 degrees. All right, before we get going, we have to do your pick. You thought I forgot. I did not forget. Poor Josh. And I agreed with you last week. I would have been on the Bengals plus 5.5 also. It absolutely did not work out. I don't want to say your record, so I'm not going to do it. I know you're going to turn it around. You're going to have a big streak to end the year. We're looking at Week 12 point spreads on the DraftKings Sportsbook. Who do you got? I'm scared.
When in doubt, Chris, you always pick against a New York team and you watch them get blown away. Both of them are massive underdogs this week. You got the Ravens home Jets and the Lions home Giants. I'm going to go with a little bit less than 10.5. You can give me the Lions at home, where they're typically just throwing points out, right? Going out of style. Goff off the not great game. You can give me home Giants, 10.5. Lions cover. They hang up somewhere in the mid-30s and the Giants can't keep up. 10.5 points Lions.
If you have Jackson Dart playing, which, as of recording this, I think I put him back in the ranks, so we think he's going to play. You just laugh at that worry.
I'm not concerned whether it's Winston or Jackson Dart. Look, the Giants, to me, to cover that, are going to have to put up, I don't know if 24 will do it. I say that now, and you know what it's going to be? 34-24. So I think they need more than 24 points to cover that spread. Go out and get it if you want. Let's see.
I'm gonna put in a vote for the Raiders minus 3.5. As disgusting as they looked, it's Shaheed Sanders, man. I get it. He came in cold. He didn't know he was going to be playing. He's going to have a whole week knowing he's the starter. It was so bad. I don't think people are showing TikToks of JJ McCarthy's game, which was really, really bad. It looked like Tom Brady compared to Shaheed Sanders. And I just don't see a way. And frankly, sometimes Cleveland's defense isn't all that great on the road. They're very, very good at home. I could get burned here because it might be 3-0, but I will take the Raiders minus 3.5 for whatever it's worth. If people would like to check out these spreads, I think a lot of people listening, you do have the DraftKings Sportsbook app, but if you've never gotten it, it's a great time to do it. Sign up with the code Harris, make one small bet, you get a deposit, a really big deposit into your account just for making one $5 bet. So we do appreciate DraftKings for that. Let me play the disclaimer.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, fees may apply in Illinois. 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. NFL Sunday ticket offer for new subscribers only and auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additional NFL Sunday ticket terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday ticket/terms. Limited time offer.
Okay, we are doing our lists of players whose value will increase in 2026. Let's do my number 3. I put, well, I don't think I cheated. I'll explain why it's not a cheat, but it is two names, so it's kind of a cheat. But they're both play wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks. Rashid Shaheed, the Rural Juror Part 2, is on my list. And you can make a noise like you stepped on a clown if he's also on your list.
He's not on my list. Go on.
No noise. So my hesitation, honestly, is Tory Horton, because I liked the very brief moment we got Tory Horton before the trade, before Horton himself got hurt. And I must acknowledge, sitting here right now, I don't know for sure that Rashid Shaheed's going to be in Seattle because he is an impending free agent, which is why New Orleans traded him. The thought is that why would Seattle trade for him unless they were planning on extending him long-term? He had the long-term relationship with the offensive coordinator, yada, yada, yada. I'm gonna say Rashid Shaheed right now, but I'm going to also say that if she were to walk, I would say definitely Tory Horton. But I'm going to say Rashid Shaheed. And the feeling is Jackson Smith-Njigba, who was the number one film room hero actually this August, so I feel pretty good about that call. He's a wrecker of worlds. He has now been shown to be one of the best receivers in the league, and I kind of think it's still probably going to be Sam Darnold, and I kind of think it's still going to be the same basic offense, and they'll just have a 2 and maybe a 3 who can live up to being the other guy. And I think JSN's other guy granted, the Seahawks will run. I have another Seahawk coming up on my list too. But they're also a very aggressive passing team. And my feeling is it has been a situation that where, if it wasn't Cooper Kupp out there, the husk of Cooper Kupp, we would be seeing multi-pass game weapons producing on a weekly basis or, quasi-weekly basis. Instead, we're getting the random pop-up by A.J. Burner, and every so often Tory Horton makes one play and Rashid Shaheed just gets 2 targets. I think that can consolidate around Shaheed, and he's just the right sort of explosive player to be alongside someone who's like an all-field guy like JSN. Always liked him. People know listening that I've always liked Shaheed. Not as a 1. I don't think he was ever destined to be a 1, but as a 2 on a good offense, I think he's going to have more value once he's kind of completely on the same page as the quarterback.
It's a great pick. I have a great segue to my number 2.
Go for it.
So I went with his former teammate, who I've actually made, I don't want to say a lot of money, but I think picked against him multiple years, not this year, as a stealth trash bag when he was going in round 3, which is Chris Olave. And he is my number 2. At the time of this podcast, he's wide receiver 17, on pace for 102 catches, 1,128 yards. He's finally healthy, still just 25 years old. I will say, if he gets a concussion this week, knock on wood, this podcast never happened, Chris.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, he's been really, really consistent this year. He's done it with Spencer Rattler, Tyler Shaheed. You like that?
Was that the Yiddish version of his name?
Correct. But, that said, I think maybe with Kellen Moore there, who can run a decent offense, we see what happens. Another 2-18. I'm not going to say just because a young quarterback comes in next year, a rookie quarterback, if they get a top QB, and they bring them in. I mean, that doesn't automatically make sense. Ask Calvin Ridley that with Cam Ward. But I think with Shaheed no longer there, they're going to bring somebody else in. But I think Chris Olave, his value from where it was and kind of just really regressed this year, I think is back to a decent place. I'm not sure he gets back to where people were taking him at the beginning of round 3 last year and the year before that. But it almost kind of feels the same way Jalen Waddle's we pooped on him back and forth. I never forgot about him, as you know, but same situation almost where I think Olave's maybe a year or 2 older, but 2 really good players, still relatively young and have a lot of their career left. I just think that right now he's not a bad player to trade for and see what happens with the Saints next year. But I thought it was an interesting one to put on this list. Thoughts?
I like Chris Olave a lot. He's another, non-huge guy. He's not tiny, but he's not huge. Yeah. Who's kind of an all-field player. And if he had a more explosive quarterback, more explosive offense, Tyler Shuck has in brief moments has looked like he could be aggressive and throw it down the field, which we like. The thing I'll say is you're right. What I was going to say is isn't he wide receiver 17? Isn't he in the top 20 right now? When you line them all up, all the receivers up next year, is Olave really going to be higher than 17?
I don't know. Well, it's interesting. I looked at his wide receiver dynasty. I just went to Fantasy Pros to see where does this guy rank? And they have him right now 25 for dynasty, and I'm like,
Okay,
like
so you're not talking about. Yeah, that's actually fair. It's fair to say, listen, things. He had a fluky September. He didn't have high volume September, and he just kept. He'd either score a touchdown or he'd have no catches until they're losing by 30 points, and then he'd get 5 catches. So that actually is a fair point to say, hey man, just because somebody's wide receiver 17 right now doesn't mean the market's going to value him as wide receiver 17 next year. That is a really good point by you, actually.
yeah.
So yeah, he seems eligible for this list. It probably depends on in some manner. If you're in a dynasty league and you're looking to trade, thinking of next year, the Olave owner might be like, well, what are you going to give me? Because I need Olave. He's a very productive member of my team. The last time I saw him play, it was 5 for 104 and a touchdown. So you probably have to give up something good to get him, right?
Really quickly, I'll ask you this because they're next to each other in Dynasty. For next year, moving forward, who would you rather have for Dynasty, Chris Olave or Travis Hunter?
Olave.
Me too. Yeah.
No hesitation. I need to see Hunter do it. Everybody's
Correct.
like, oh, he was doing it. I'm like, well, no, he actually wasn't. I watched them. He had a couple of games that were like fine, but yeah, he wasn't doing it yet. Olave, for sure.
Yep.
So, and probably you're right. Dynasty would not value them that way.
Yeah. Great point by me.
All right.
Oh.
Great point by you. All right, number 2, I have another Seahawk. Zach Charbonnet. Sab Cav, as you once said on the show. The theory here being that Kenneth Walker. Do you call Kenneth Walker the third? Do you call him the third? Do you call KW3?
Obviously KW3. When I'm talking to him, I just say Kenneth, but to my friends, I say KW3.
He is a free agent, and I'll assume for the purposes of right now that he is going elsewhere. I don't really have any reason to think that that's automatically the case, other than were I Seattle and any NFL team, and I want to pretend that money is real in my sport, then I probably feel like, why do I need to spend what it's going to take to keep Kenneth Walker? Like maybe Kenneth Walker is going to be a $4 million a year running back, in which case, sure, obviously they could afford him. But my supposition for this is that somebody will view him as more of a cornerstone main guy type piece, and therefore he goes somewhere for a bigger contract than Seattle, who has Charbonnet still under his rookie deal, would be willing to pay, and George Holani becomes the second guy. And if that's the case, do I think Charbonnet's a superstar? I don't. I think everybody knows that I have been comping him to David Montgomery for a long time, but David Montgomery's good. He's fine. The problem with David Montgomery in Chicago was that everybody was going running back 7, or whatever. And I was like, guys, you're barking up the wrong tree. He's not running back 7, but he doesn't have any competition for touches. Yeah, there's always someone. He's not an explosive, dynamic player. And I think that's also true of Charbonnet, that he's not a dynamic, explosive player, but obviously he's proven his worth to be basically in a 50-50 split. To this point, maybe there are rumblings that that's getting a little bit more separated. And last week, Walker did have a really good fourth quarter and was a big part of the comeback. But get me Walker out of town and give me Charbonnet as more valuable than he is right now. He RB 19. I'm making that up, but doesn't that sound? If there's no Walker in town and it's a Holani type, it's an obviously someone who's going to play, but a secondary type player. Doesn't RB 19 feel like the right rank for Charbonnet?
Yeah, it feels like he's a round 3 player if Walker leaves, and they just bring in, like you said, some player where we know Charbonnet. It's not a Charbonnet Walker situation, and he's like a 65 to 70% touch guy. He's a round 3 player at the beginning.
Yeah, is round 3 RB 19? Is that where RB 19 goes? Round 3?
Maybe the end of round 3.
Yeah, maybe 4 even. But
probably in our leagues he would go round 3. In quote unquote expert leagues, I guess that's round 8 for RB 19.
It's so true. It's harsh but true. That's exactly right. We'll have all these guests on, and they'll be like, "Wait, you have Zach Charbonnet in the 4th round? He goes in the 8th," and I'll be like, "La la la, you're not supposed to tell me that until I look at the ranks." 3rd week of August. I wonder if we have the same number 1. I think there's a chance we do.
No, I don't. I feel like your number 1 I know. Does your number 1 play in New York? Mine doesn't.
Okay, correct.
I knew you were going to do it, so I left it off purposely.
But
Chris, I know you
go ahead.
so well.
Yeah, you
Okay.
do.
I went with something. It's a number one, but it's a similar. It's kind of the reverse or the inverse, I guess, of what you just did. And I went with Tyler Algier
Okay.
for a similar reasoning because he's going to be a UFA this summer, right? He's not. I'm not saying he's going to leave Atlanta, but if you're him, like I think he's a really efficient back. I think he's a good back. He's showed in his rookie year a couple of years ago that he could run for 1,000 yards, and again, I think a lot of this is going to come down to probably who do you want to pay Walker? Do you want to pay the guy you're going to talk about at number one? Do you want to pay Algier? Like, I think he'd probably love the opportunity to get some additional money and leave Atlanta if there's an opportunity, right? If he's going to end up in Dallas or Washington or Arizona or a team like that and has a backfield where, he's going to be more of the lead back, like you were just talking about Charbonnet. Like, I think that, right now he's listed on Fantasy Pros as the RB 48 in Dynasty and
Right.
168th overall.
That's
Like,
wrong. That's
that's
incorrect.
definitely
Yeah,
wrong. And I
that's
look
a
at that and I
very
go,
worthy number one. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm just like, man, if that's how people are treating him, I don't know. Maybe I'll see who has him in La Liga. I mean, I'm the outside looking in. That's someone where I wouldn't mind placing a chip because he ends up in the right destination. I think he could definitely be, an easy RB2 every single week. He's already doing that now in a backfield that he splits with one of the best running backs in the NFL. If you were to put him on a team where he's going to get 16 to 18 touches a week, I think, that would be just a phenomenal play from a dynasty perspective. So I put him one.
I thought about him and I didn't put him on because I had this little voice in the back of my head that says he'll probably resign. He'll probably not find the money for my guy or Ken Walker because he's not as dynamic a player. But
Yeah.
to be honest, what's the difference between Tyler Algier and Zach Charbonnet?
I don't think much.
Yeah, I mean they're big guys. They move okay. Like once they get going, they're pretty impressive, and they certainly are huge contact magnets and run over guys and really strong and so awesome at the goal line. But you can't throw it to them that many times, and they're not. If they get met in the backfield, that's probably the play's over, and not a lot of like major cutback runs on their tape and that kind of thing. But I love it. I think that's really smart. The more you talk, the more I was like, yeah, I probably should have had him. I'm glad you did. And maybe you're right. Maybe somebody just goes, you know what? Here's the $5 million contract. We're not going to Barkley you. Nobody's going to Barkley him, obviously. But why would Atlanta match $5 million? It's a great question. It's a great one to bring up. I think people could go see if they get Algier. It's not a bad idea. So my one is obviously Breece Hall, and it's almost boring that I put him there. And I kind of thought about trying to find somebody else because it's just paint by numbers. Obviously, get him out of that hellhole. And we still think he's really good. And there's been enough stuff on tape to say, yeah, he's all the way back. And even staying in New York, he's probably, for me, still a first-round pick. Or maybe not. Maybe he's a second-round pick. But get him get him wherever. Get him with Jaden Daniels. I would be very, very pleased to have Breece Hall with Jaden Daniels. So, yeah, I think there's the Jets didn't trade him because they wanted the outside shot of retaining him, which sounded an awful lot like Saquon Barkley. And if I'm Breece Hall, why in the world would I do that to myself? So I think he's gone. And I think all those bigger deals that the Henrys and the Barkleys got a couple of years ago, the Josh Jacobs, somebody's going to give that to Breece Hall because it works, because it all worked. If you not as a foundational piece, not as the first piece in a rebuild, but as a coup de grace for a team that's ready to win, it just flat out works, and Breece Hall would work.
Yeah, I know I mentioned these teams before for Algier, but like, man, if he were to be on Dallas, he's a round one pick. If you put him on Washington, he's a round one pick. If he were to, you know, Arizona in a decent quarterback situation, like I would love for him to get the heck out of there. I mean, Arizona's not much better position right now than the Jets,
No,
although
yeah.
but he needs to get out of New York. I think he's just. I mean, we've seen him catch 70 balls before. Like he's just such a complete player. He's incredibly explosive. He was 24 years old. He just needs new scenery. And I think everybody knows that because wherever he lands, he's
Yeah.
going to be the primary back. So now it's just a matter of how amazing is the destination going to be. And I don't foresee any situation now where the Jets are going to bring him back. I think that team's in. I don't know. I don't know what they do, Chris. But,
yeah. No, I mean, it's a great point that I'm not by mentioning Tyler Allgeier, by mentioning us both mentioning Tuten, although Tuten just did go off a little bit, but like at least you're thinking ahead in a way that someone else in the league might not be. Every single person who has Breece Hall in a Dynasty league is thinking exactly this way. So you're still going to have to pay a lot to get him because there's going to be an X% chance that he lands in an elite spot for him, and then you go, you'll be sad that you traded him away. So I feel like I did sort of. But it was expected. You knew what I was going to do.
As I'm going through my list, he was like my real true number one, but I'm like, I'm not doing it because I just know how Chris thinks and he's going to be his number one.
Yeah, but it was probably the least interesting of the 9 conversations we had. Sorry about that, but yeah,
it's fair.
He probably does bear mentioning. We think he's going to almost anywhere else. We think he's going to be worth quite a bit more than he has so far. I loved your list. That's a great list. You're right. Actually, the work that you put into it was obvious. You can find Josh on Instagram at Detective Fish, FISCH, and please do find him there and let him know what's going on with you. And if you have trade questions, I'm sure he would answer every single one of them. He's just very generous with Instagram time. Very good, my friend. You're off next week because of Thanksgiving, but we will speak to you in 2 weeks. And in the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful holiday.
You too, man. Happy holidays.
And thank you so much for listening. Let me also thank the 3 sponsors without whom there would have been no show. We had some great gift ideas or just holiday ideas. Aura frames, check them out. Really fantastic gift idea for the grandparents or the parents. Wild grain coming up on holidays here. Great idea to have some fresh bread and pasta and pastry. And also Chubbies. As Josh said, more than just bathing suits now, although we do love the bathing suits. Check out that NFL collection. I bet you'll find something you really like. They have some cool, weird designs for some NFL team shirts that you might like as gifts, and lots of other things as well. You can find details about today's sponsors in today's show notes, and all the current sponsors are listed at harrisfootball.com. That will do it for this week. This weekend will be normal, and there's no Europe game, so I will be somewhat well-rested when I do a live stream at noon Eastern for the Yacht Club. We'd love to have you. If you're not quite yet in the Yacht Club, you can join. That will be pretty fun. Next week, though, it is an abbreviated run on the show. We're going to have Monday and Tuesday, per usual, game film review, and then waivers on Tuesday. Wednesday will only be the Yacht Club show, and then no episode Thursday or Friday. So if you want a ranks discussion about Week 13, that will happen on the Yacht Club show with Andy Behrens and myself. And again, if you want to subscribe for $5 a month, we'd love to have you. You can find out the details at harrisfootball.com. On Monday, I'll be here, per usual, reviewing all the game film. My guest for that will be Sam Gold of Sam's Film Room. That will be really fun. Until then, thanks again so much for listening. Your hat is awesome. You're awesome for wearing it. I will talk to you on Monday.
The Harris Football Podcast's opening theme is Under the Gun by Apex Manor. The closing theme is Say Yes by The Wellspring. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and never miss an episode.